Hi everyone, Sophisticated Intuition here. Episode 2, we're going to be talking about signs and synchronicities. Just like mindfulness and meditation practices were a significant part or played a huge role in my becoming aware of my spiritual being. Signs and synchronicities were definitely the door opener to embracing what was occurring. So I think it was April of 2018. I had a life event occur, which I'll be talking about way later down the line, that kind of sent me running to the Most High in the most traditional way, in the way that I've always done. You know, we go through things and some of us only go to pray when we're going through things, but I had always had open line of communication with the Most High. I was always communicating daily. I wake up and give gratitude daily. I would, say my prayers for my family, friends, and myself. But definitely, if I was experiencing trouble, that I would seek out through my faith answers. So it was no different. It was definitely life changing event, and I went seeking out answers to have clarity, to get understanding, to understand the purpose of it, and the Most High answered through signs and synchronicities. So I know many of us read the Bible and we, see the passages. Don't ask me to quote, but there's passages where the angels appear and, burning bush and different signs, and how God would communicate with his disciples and so on and so forth. So for me, that is still happening. That is definitely still happening. Like, that's a fact. I cannot provide you proof or evidence, but I can tell you what I have experienced. And the signs and synchronicity is the part in my spiritual transformation where I thought I was insane, where I was considering going to check myself in, to find out if maybe just this life changing event had altered me in some way, and altered my mind. But it didn't take very long for me to realize after the signs and synchronicities began to appear, what was happening, what was occurring. Like I said, I've always been fully aware of my spirituality. I never was truly tied into any traditions, but this experience just really severed me from any traditions, and just connected me like a direct vine to the Most High. So the first sign or synchronicity that I was provided with was coins. I'd always seen coins throughout my lifetime. I actually do a ritual that I've been doing for maybe 10 or 15 years where I collect the loose change that's been left around the house, or the car, or in my purses, and wash them at the New Year's, to bring in luck and prosperity. So it wasn't anything new for me to see coins laying around unexpectedly. However, because I was beaten at the door of heaven for answers, those coins started to stick out to me more and more and more. It would be right after a prayer where some random coin would just be there. Usually it's pennies or dimes, but on occasion I'll get quarters. And what I have come to see that, at least lately, is if I see a quarter, that means some big event is on its way. Um, and that I need to be prepared for that. It doesn't mean good or bad. It's just a big event, and it's kind of the angel's ways of saying something's coming, and we're here just so you know. And that's what the coins are for, just to kind of like let you know that they're there. If you see a coin on your windowsill, that was probably an angel. Like, how did you drop the penny on the windowsill? That was more likely an angel that came by to tell you that they were there. Could be a loved one even, that has passed on, that is, just kind of letting you know that they're still hanging around, that they may or may not have crossed over, but they're still there, just checking in on you. But the coins are definitely a sign of communication, from the spiritual realm. And I can go on and on about some of the things that occurred when the coins would show up, but I just want you to know that if you are seeing those on a consistent basis, like I was daily, and throughout the day, where it was like, okay, I see that this coin is here. Ew, there was a coin there earlier. There was a coin there earlier. Like they were just popping up on a daily basis and throughout the day. So that just like caught my attention. It was like, wake up. Okay. The next sign or synchronicity that I experienced was numerology or synchronicity of numbers. So I was seeing 1111. That's the master number. The master number that is signifying a spiritual awakening. It can also mean some other things, but definitely, go out there, Google, or check out your local library, and there's so much content out there about this synchronicities. Carl Jung is a great I think he was a psychiatrist, and I think there's a lot of um, YouTube information even out there with Carl Jung that can kind of tell you about signs and synchronicities and how those can tie into your spiritual awareness or awakening. So, but coins was one of them for me. Numerology is the next one. Numerology is, or the numbers when they started appearing like they were, is when I started to truly question my sanity. That was when I was like, I don't know if I'm okay. And I think, like, I'm laughing now that the angels were chuckling at me because it was spooking me. It was creeping me out. Every time I would look at the clock, a billboard, a license plate. Um, there's an artist out there, I forget his name, but he has an album, 1111. And so every time I would turn on my Pandora, his album was playing, and the name of the name of the album, 1111, was up on the screen, right there. Every single time I would turn it on, it was like driving me nuts. Uh, so it was so much that I had to pay attention. I had to sit up and pay attention. I had to do the research. I had to find out, what does this number mean. So I did that. I started going out there and getting more information about 1111 and having a full understanding of that. That it was a spiritual awakening awareness. It does have some meanings in terms of love and romance and things like that. But I'm not going to get into all of the definitions or what they mean, because it could be something else for you. 1111 is definitely talking about a spiritual awareness awakening. The angels are trying to get your attention. But what are they trying to get your attention for? You have to answer that question. Once I started to understand what 1111 meant for me, other numbers or synchronicities began. So then it was like 222, 333, 444. The angels were really trying to get my attention. I started to think of it like decoding a message. It wasn't 222 every day. It might have been some 1111, 222, some combination of synchronicities. But every time I would look at the clock, then, or license plate, like I said, or billboards or television commercials. It was just everywhere. Once I started to master and understand some of those, I don't want to call them simple, but the 222s and the 1111s, those just simplistic synchronicities, then they started to form into others. Like every time I looked at the clock, it was something 11, 211, 311, 411, 511. So that's when I was like, what? Who who, not what, but who is trying to communicate to me? I know I went knocking and beating at that door and I wanted an answer, but what is this message that is coming from the spiritual realm? What is it that they want me to know? So that is where meditation started to kind of go hand in hand. That's when I started to really dive into meditation and selecting content, meditation, my meditation playlist, can't talk, but my meditation playlist would consist of meditation specifically on synchronicity. So I could get, so I could tap in to my higher level of consciousness, so I could get a full understanding of what the message was. And sure enough, it was just like pouring out like water, and just flowing like a river. the answer for me, the answer for me that I went seeking. Why is this occurring? why did this happen to me? Why am I experiencing this? Through that life event, that life changing event for me, the answer was to find your true life purpose. That was the answer for me. There's been other signs and synchronicities that I experienced, such as through animals and insects. um, I don't know if a butterfly is an insect. I guess it was as a caterpillar, right? But the butterflies. So I had butterflies show up in mass amounts, not just a little butterfly or a white butterfly or a yellow butterfly show up and, fly by my shoulder. No, there was like an infestation of butterflies that showed up. Once I started to understand the numerology synchronicity, the synchronicity of the numerology that was continuous, then just like a mass amount of butterflies just flew all over the place for like a week. I think I live out in this area where it's like more country, more ranch area, so it's wide open, and these butterflies were everywhere. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful occurrence, and it was like um, I don't know, like what I would imagine, like if you walk into the doors of heaven, like there's just these butterflies just everywhere. It's just beautiful. That's what I was experiencing in the physical realm. This was not a dream. This was actually happening. And I could not, I knew that other people could see all of these butterflies because it was occurring where I lived. But for me, it just stood out so strong that it was a message. So I started looking up butterflies and what that meant, and definitely it was about transformation. So that just like, that's when it clicked. I was like, okay, I see what's happening here. Other synchronicities or signs for me were through birds. Birds were showing up. Sparrows, an entire family of sparrows showed up and made nest in my home. I had a hawk show up in the backyard twice. The first time he came and he left his food behind. I don't know what spooked him or made him run away, but he left his food. And then he came back a couple weeks later and just stood in the tree. I have 3 trees in the backyard. So there he just stood in the tree and looked at me and I looked at him. I tried to take a picture. The phone I had at the time had like really poor quality. So I do have a picture of the hawk in the tree, but it's not the best. But it was amazing. And look up what hawks mean, spiritual meaning of hawks, and them showing up. Definitely it was huge. I did have crows show up at one point in time, and I was like, oh no, not the crows. But but if you look up the spiritual meaning, then you will find that that's not something for you to fear either. You just definitely sometimes these signs and synchronicities can be warnings to prepare you for something that's on the way. But in this particular instance, these animals, these numbers, and these coins were popping up in my life to show me, to guide me, to answer my question of why was I experiencing what I was experiencing. So that's what signs and synchronicities were for me, and how they played a big or huge role into my spiritual transformation process. So please share what you have experienced in terms of signs and synchronicities. I would love to hear that. And join me next time on Sophisticated Intuition. I'll let you know if you like and subscribe here, and then if you're not, you can go ahead and become a friend of mine on Facebook, and I will be able to kind of give you an idea of what we're going to be talking about. A few days in advance, I try to post on Facebook what the topic of discussion is going to be. That way, when you join me, then you can, have your information prepared and just drop your comment. When I post the videos, I'm usually available so that we can have that back and forth commentary. As my subscribers and the channel grows, I will make myself available for lives so we can have those open discussions, right away. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much for coming. Have a great day. Love and light.